Hello and welcome to the Stack Exchange, where we cast our thoughts and let our arguments resolve. I am your host, Tristan.
And I'm your co-host, Tyler.
Today on the Stack Exchange, we're going to be talking a little bit about the top 5 commanders according to EDH Rec, sorted by popularity. And we're going to be giving some recommendations on commanders that you could be playing instead, but that still offer a similar vibe.
All of our recommendations today will not be within the top 100 most popular commanders on EDH Rec. This is mainly to give you a little more variation, play some less popular commanders, some commanders people might not even know about.
Exactly. And I think this also offers a little bit more protection. Sometimes people will see a commander that they recognize and have watched go off before and will remove it instantly just because they know what it does and it's scary. Whereas if you're playing a lesser known card as your commander, this can kind of offer a bit of protection and allow you to fly under the radar. All right, let's just get into it. Start off this list with the Dragon, who is currently the #1 most popular commander on EDH Rec. Because of this, I'm not going to read it out, but we can just get into my recommendation. Before we do, Tyler, do you have any thoughts about the Dragon?
I built no, I didn't build. I stole an Dragon deck off online. And I think it's just kind of an absurd card. I don't think it's nearly as good as you think it should be because it gets turboed really insane. Like people hate on Dragon so much, but I think it's definitely a great card that does a little too much.
The thing about it being hated and people maybe looking to instantly remove it is that it almost doesn't even matter because of the Eminence ability, which is like obviously everyone knows that Eminence is probably like the least healthy thing ever printed in Commander, but it's just like it offers so much for what it's doing just for picking it up in the command zone. And then I think just Tarkir Dragonstorm made this card shoot straight up to #1, no questions asked. So let me just get into my recommendation on if you do like this style of play, what card I would run instead. The card I would run instead is Ravaz of the Claw. Ravaz of the Claw is a 1 generic mana and Rakdos for a 3/3 legendary creature lizard warlock with menace. And he reads, tap, add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast dragon creature spells. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard. Whenever you cast a dragon creature spell from your graveyard, it gains, when this creature dies, exile it. What I love about this card is that it comes down really early for 3 mana, and then it kind of acts as you want Dragon to act anyway, giving you a bit of ramp, a bit of mana to spend on the dragon, and then still giving you a little bit of card advantage, allowing you to cast spells from your graveyard. Although you do have to exile it, there is some stuff you can do to kind of get around that. Maybe not in Rakdos, but um, at least you're still getting a little bit of the card advantage. Obviously, Dragon is allowing you to draw cards when you. It's just Dragon's an insane card, but I feel like the elements of Dragon are still there. The ramp and the card advantage are still there. So that's why I would pick Ravaz of the Claw to build dragons. I also think the biggest issue with dragons is that they're just like Wooburg good stuff. They're in every single color and they do something amazing in every single color. So limiting yourself to just 2 colors like Rakdos really does make you have to think a little more creatively about how you're going to build a deck. Not to say Rakdos doesn't have amazing dragons. It does, but it limits you a little bit more, which I actually like. I think it's an upside.
I agree with all those points you made. One other thing that I think is really cool is just having a ramp in the command zone of our Rakdos deck is kind of awesome because that is that is not the colors to do ramp, especially in the command zone. So I think it's pretty cool that that's something that you can find on a commander, even if it's just dragon specific. That's what you're going to be doing in this deck.
Yeah, like with Dragon, you're going to be looking to build dragons anyway. So, and I mean, how many mana dorks are in Rakdos? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know,
Not very
but not
many.
a lot.
Yeah. All right, Ty, what do you got for us?
All right, my replacement commander for the Urdrag is Furkrag Cunning Instigator. He is a 3/3 that costs Is It and 3 with flying and haste, and whenever one or more dragons you control attack an opponent, goad target creature that player controls. Then, whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, put a 1/1 counter on Furcrag Cunning Instigator, and you draw a card. So, I think that just in general, Furcrag is a very cool commander. Goad, great mechanic. He works around you attacking with dragons and whatnot. You can goad one creature for each opponent if you hit each opponent once at least. And they have that draw stapled to them a little bit. You get a little bit of draw, kind of like Ur-Dragon. It doesn't have to just be attacking off of Furcrag's triggers too. So you could play Disrupt Decorum. Is that the name of the card that
Yep.
goads
Yep.
everything? Yeah, you
Yep.
can play a Disrupt Decorum, goad everything, and draw a bunch of cards and put a bunch of counters on Furcrag. It also gives you a sort of an alt win con as a flying haste 1/1 counter. It gives you a bit of an alt win con because you end up with this big flying commander to swing in for commander damage if you need to.
Yeah, no, I really like this pick. I think blue has some of the cooler dragons to offer as well. I also, while I don't, I think Goat is probably like a mid-tier mechanic for me. My personal opinion, I think it's fun, but I think there are things that I don't like about it. Overall, I mean, you're playing dragons, you're getting card advantage, and you're getting a little bit of protection with Goat. This is an awesome deck idea, and I really like it for Dragon Tribal. Good pick.
Alrighty, now moving on to the second most popular commander right now, which is Atraxa, Praetor's Voice. She was actually the number one ranked commander in popularity, like since her release until just this like a couple weeks ago. And she is a Witchmaw commander, 4/4. She's got keyword soup on her and end step proliferates.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has probably heard of this card before. As long as I've been playing Magic, it's been the most popular commander. I think like a theme we're gonna notice with the most popular cards is their access to colors. For some reason, people really like. I mean, not for some reason. It's obvious that people like having access to colors, but I think it makes deck building a little hard. So it can be misleading for newer players just looking like, oh, this is the most popular commander. I'll build it, and then don't know how to build a 5-color, 4-color mana base.
I agree. So, do you want to start us off, Tristan?
Let's do it. Okay, so I think that with Atraxa, just saying proliferate, you can build her in a ton of different ways. You can do poison counters, you can do 1/1 counters, you can do loyalty counters, you can do rad counters, you can do so many different things with counters. And so the way I went was Super Friends because I think that that is kind of a more fun way to build her rather than like doing poison counters and getting hated out by the table. So the commander I chose to replace Atraxa is Karth the Lion, who is a 2 generic and Golgari mana for a 3/5 legendary creature human warrior that reads when Karth the Lion enters the battlefield or a planeswalker you control dies, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And then another static ability which reads Planeswalker's loyalty abilities you activate cost an additional +1 to activate. So whenever you're increasing loyalty or even decreasing, it's going to decrease by less, I believe, and it's going to increase by more, giving your planeswalkers more longevity, getting them to their ultimate a lot quicker. I think that this is one of the coolest Super Friends commanders. Usually with an ability that's like, look at the top X cards of your library. I get scared I'm gonna whiff, but 7 cards is so deep that I don't think you're gonna whiff. The only thing I don't like about the commander is that it's Golgari Planeswalkers. I would maybe like access to more colors here, but again, you'll notice a theme with the cards that I pick. I actually like less colors. I think it makes the deck more consistent and more simple. So that's why I went with Cart the Lion.
Yeah, I agree. I'm definitely more favorable towards lower color counts because it makes building decks, especially land bases, simpler. All right, my commander that I chose to be a replacement for Atraxa is Agent Frank Horrigan. I believe that's how you say his name. It's a 5 cost and Golgari. It's a 8/6 trample mutant warrior that has indestructible as long as it attacked this turn. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you proliferate twice. So like Tristan said, there's a lot of different counters that you can proliferate with. And I also think that Super Friends is one of the best ways to go about it. But I wanted to give a commander that is less popular, but you can still kind of build similar to how you build Atraxa. So no matter which avenue you want to go down, you can still build it like an Atraxa deck. And I figured that Agent Frank works the best. I think it's a really cool card. It's super expensive, but you're in green, so it doesn't really matter. But a 8/6 trample and essentially indestructible commander that is proliferating when you attack can be super cool. You can run that how you want. You could do it as like a Voltron commander with a bunch of 1/1 counters. You could make a big board state and do counters. You could do some weird sack and resurrecting stuff. So you could sack him, he gets hit to the yard, you bring him back, that ETBs proliferates. I'm sure there's a way you could loop that I think could be pretty cool. But this gives you a little bit of access to do any of that general proliferating stuff without like bottlenecking you towards something like Super Friends, though I do really like the card Tristan picked. I just thought it was a very cool card that I don't think I've ever seen a commander deck or ever played against. So I would love to see more of it.
Yeah, that's an awesome pick. The high cost is kind of funny, but I think that, you're in black and green. You can loop this to the field pretty easily. Okay, let's get on to Edgar Markov. Yet another commander in the top 5 with an eminence ability. I'm kind of noticing a theme here. Obviously, one of the most powerful abilities in the format. Edgar Markov is the most popular vampire commander, the third most popular commander in the format, and offers you a vampire body for every vampire you play. So you're going to just be throwing a ton of low-cost vampires out, getting a ton more vampires, and swinging in with a huge board state. The direction I went with this, at least for the first 2 suggestions, I tried to find commanders that played somewhat similarly, maybe with less colors, maybe doing something more specific and less general. But for this pick, it's definitely more flavorful. I really like this card. I'll just read what it is. It's the original Olivia Voldaren, which is 2 generic in Rakdos for a 3/3 flying legendary vampire creature. She basically has 2 abilities. The first one allows you to pay 1 in a red for her to deal 1 damage to another target creature. That creature will then become a vampire in addition to its other types, and I get to put a +1/+1 counter on Olivia. So what I like about this is, for the same reason Tyler liked Fur Crag, you have a flying commander that gets bigger. It's just a nice threat to have on the board to continue to threaten lethal, even if you're stalling out. The second ability allows you to pay 3 and 2 black to gain control of target vampire for as long as you control Olivia Voldaren. I just think it's so funny. It's so flavorful to have a vampire that bites someone, turns them into a vampire, then turns them to your side, and then, when she dies, they lose their loyalty or whatever. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, I actually really like this card. Like you said, it's a real big flavor win. And I actually thought about building a deck around her at one point, but then just kind of lost the inspiration for it.
For sure. All right, Ty, let's hear what you've got.
All right. As you'll see with most of mine, I'm trying to keep kind of similar to how the commanders play, which I think that kind of works really well. Tristan gives you a little bit of a more spicy commander, and I give you one that's more central to the previous commander's game plan. So I chose Gahalta and Mavrin. They are 3 cost and then double Selesnya for a 12/12 trampler with whenever you attack, choose one. You can either create a tapped and attacking XX green dinosaur creature token with trample, where X is the greatest power among other attacking creatures you control. Note that says other, so you can't just get a 12/12 because you have Halta out there. Or you can create X11 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So that kind of doubles your attacking board state to create a bunch of these lifelink vampires. I think this really fits into Markov's idea of building a bunch of vampire tokens and essentially kind of like doubling the amount of vampires you have. With this one, you have a bunch of vampires. You can attack with a bunch of your vampires, and it makes a bunch more. And I think that added having a little bit of lifelink can be really helpful for survivability in decks. And then if you need to, you can also try making a large dinosaur if you throw in a couple bigger creatures as well to help you finish out games. And of course, it's a 12/12 trample commander. You're threatening commander damage always. It's a great one blocker and a great just commander threat.
Yeah, this is an awesome pick. I think it's doing exactly what you said, like what Edgar wants to do, which is just double up your board state, buff them, and keep swinging in. It's awesome.
The next commander is ranked 4 Krenko Mob Boss. Krenko is 2 and 2 red. He's a 3/3 goblin warrior that taps and makes a 1/1 red goblin creature token equal to the number of goblins you control. So just very general, red goblins make lots of goblins.
I think this kind of ties into what we were saying earlier about how using a less known commander can kind of offer protection against people just swinging you out and thinking of you as a huge threat, even if your deck is doing nothing. Just seeing Krenko in the command zone across from you is probably one of the scarier things ever. You're going to be holding up removal for the second he hits the board anyway. So I think this is a commander where you can gain a lot of value from picking someone else.
I agree. All right, Tristan, do you want to start us off with what your commander is?
Of course. Okay. So my commander is quite similar to Krenko Mobbus in a lot of ways. Ib Halfheart Goblin Tactician is a mono red commander who also costs 4 mana, who is a 3/2 Goblin Advisor, so very similar. Instead of costing 2 and 2 red mana pips, he costs 3 generic and 1 red mana. And it reads, whenever another goblin you control becomes blocked, sacrifice it. If you do, it deals 4 damage to each creature blocking it. And then you can sacrifice 2 mountains to put 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens onto the battlefield. I also love the flavor text on this guy. I think that this is exactly what I want in a goblin deck. He does the thing where he makes goblins for you, and it can be a lot of them too. If you get a haste enabler onto the field and an anthem, you can just decide to go all out and sacrifice all 10 of your lands that you've played all game to put 20 goblins onto the battlefield and then just swing out with them, which is so cool and almost more fun to do than Krenko. With Krenko, you're tapping him. With this guy, you're sacrificing the most important resource to you, which I love. Also, sacrificing lands is not something that's foreign to Red, so there may be some synergies there. I haven't looked into it completely, but also he gives your goblins some really good evasion. They can still be chump blocked, obviously, but any creature with 4 toughness that has any sort of ability your opponents want can no longer block your 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Now your goblins can't be blocked by any creature your opponent cares about that has 4 toughness or less. That's a lot more evasion than what you had earlier. And then you can just play standard good goblins. And if they get blocked, sacrifice them and just keep pumping a ton of goblin tokens onto the field. I love this card so much as a replacement for Krenko. I like him more than Krenko.
Yeah, that's actually a really awesome commander I'd never heard of. I took a quick look at their EDH rec, like recommended cards, and it is truly a full send because there is not a lot you can do in red to get those lands back. There are some stuff you can colorless that can like let you play lands from graveyards, but you're not recovering those lost lands really because you're not ramping as well. Moving on to the commander I picked Brutaclad Telcor Engineer. They cost 4 and is it for a 4/4 artifact creature artificer. They give your creature tokens you control haste. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you make a 2/1 blue mirror artifact creature token. Then you may choose a token you control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. I think this kind of synergizes with Krenko's idea of dump a bunch of stuff on the board. And I think this is a really cool one. I like this more than Krenko, because even though it's a 6-cost commander, it gives your tokens haste. And you can kind of synergize this with, like, if you want to do a bunch of treasures or a bunch of clues, and then you get, like, one big thing. For instance, let's say, like, the 8/8 you get from Ominous Seas. You turn everything into the 8/8s from Ominous Seas and just swing out with this huge board of, like, converted, like, treasure tokens or whatnot. Or, by the opposite vein, you can use this to get yourself some mana or other tokens you need. For instance, turn a bunch of creature tokens into treasures. And then you have a bunch of treasures you can use if you want to cast more stuff that turn.
Yeah, I mean, this is a card I've considered building before as a commander, and there's so many different ways you could do it. But I like the idea of like throwing a ton of goblins out, and then oops, they all turned into treasure tokens. I'm sacrificing all of them to throw this giant X spell, like Channel Fireball or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. I think it could be really cool. And I also think it could be cool if you, I don't know how you would do it in Is It, but if you can get a gold token and get some sort of convoke damage spell, you could tap all of it, then turn everything into gold, then sack all of it, and you have a ton of mana into like a
Isn't
convoke spell.
the thing that makes gold is in the Fur Crag precon, so it has to be, is it?
Oh,
I think.
there is one. Yes, it's Curse of Ebrosity, I believe. It's the blue
Right.
one. There's I
Yeah.
think there's one at least in every color. I recently looked at there's a mono black commander that makes gold, but
Right.
that's the card that kept coming to mind for me. But you're right, there is a way in the Fur Crag precon, so I think that could be a really cool way to do it. Make everything gold. You can tap all of it for like improvise if you want to, or if you have a convoke thing, tap all the creatures down, then make them all gold and sack them for more mana. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this commander. There's so many tokens in this game, so there's so many cool things you can do.
The last commander we're going to be looking at today is currently ranked 5th for popularity on EDHREC, and this is Sauron the Dark Lord. From a set from 2 years ago, he is already the 5th most popular commander in the entire format, and for good reason, as every single commander before him on this list was. He is completely busted. So, what swaps can we possibly make?
I think this card is absurd. It does too much. It does everything. It has ward. You don't. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, you amass orcs 1. When an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. And when the ring tempts you, you can essentially wheel your hand. It does everything. Card advantage, creates tokens, protects itself, and gives you some of the access to the ring, which can do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, the first ward ability is either just straight up hexproof or remove someone's commander, which is just good. It's so good. Okay, the suggestion I have for this one is on vibes alone, because when you think of Sauron, and if you're super into Lord of the Rings like I am, he's just this big, bad guy that is doing some crazy stuff. So, who else could replace him other than Negan from The Walking Dead? The Secret Lair Walking Dead brought us Negan, the Cold Blooded, who is a Mardu commander that reads, when Negan enters the battlefield, you and target opponent each secretly choose a creature that player controls. Then those choices are revealed and that player sacrifices those creatures. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a creature, you create a treasure token. Marduk colors are so good at sacrificing, making other people sacrifice stuff. On top of that, you're just creating a treasure token every time. Not even tapped, you're just ramping. This also has a universes within printing, so it's a little more accessible to people or people who don't like universes beyond. But on straight vibes, when Negan comes down, he is the big bad guy, just like when Sauron comes down. There's not a lot of similarities between them as far as the magic card goes, but I just like the vibes of being this dude that is gonna fuck someone's day up. I don't know if I can say that word on YouTube.
It's okay, we're not monetized.
Not helping.
Yeah, I think this is a really cool commander. I think Sack and Mardu is something that's you always see, but I like the ETB effect. I think it's very cool and kind of mind gamesy because they want to select what you're gonna select. But do you want to go for their best thing, which they'll probably select, or do you want to try and hit something else? I think it's very interesting. And then the added effect of when an opponent sacks something, you get a treasure is just kind of dumb. It's so good.
It's such a busted ability. No restrictions, no tap, no once a turn. Just straight treasure whenever. Um, yeah, the first ability is super fun because it is like a little mini game. Do I pick the best thing and guarantee I get it, or do I pick a small thing and maybe they pick their big thing, and so it's funny that they killed their own big thing, or they were smart and outplayed me and I risk missing their big thing. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with this. It's a fun card. All right, Ty. What do you have that could possibly replace Sauron?
So this might not be surprising because I'm pretty sure this is the alternate commander in the Sauron precon. But I picked Saruman the White Hand, Grixis in 1, 2, 5, Avatar Wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, amass X, where X is the spell's mana value, and then goblins and orcs you control have Ward 2. I decided to kind of hone in on the amassing and like token generation kind of idea that Sauron does, because there's nothing that really does Sauron like Sauron. But I was like, okay, I want to do token gen, and then there's also kind of protection. I mean, it's not for Saruman, but it's for your armies, essentially. But I think it kind of has a similar idea. I actually started making a Saruman deck, and there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do it like big spells, which is, I think, the way I started building it originally. Or you can build it as a bunch of cantrips, where you just, cantrips and storm, you just pump out a ton of spells to get this army just slowly built up to be big and strong. And then you can do some other buffing of it stuff. And it's nice to have a little protection tacked onto it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, you're getting the orc army like you wanted. He's also giving some protection. 3/3 Elk has mentioned this before, but if you've ever played against Roaming Throne, you know that Ward 2 is basically hexproof. That is not coming off the board. So I think that's a pretty strong ability to have. Ward 1's like, all right, maybe. Ward 2, no one wants to pay that for some reason. No one wants to make their path to exile the price of a generous gift. So I think that's some pretty good protection. All around, if your goal was to get maybe as close as you can to a 1-for-1 swap, I think Saruman the White Hand is the best option. So good pick.
So those were our picks for some commanders that you can run instead of the most popular in the format. Hopefully this will help give you some inspiration or switch up a little bit to get away from those most popular commanders.
Did you like our picks? Or do you have suggestions for commanders you think could do a good job of replacing these cards? Feel free to let us know in the comments below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys.